If you're a fan of motorsport of pretty much any kind, you've most probably heard of the combination of letters W, R, and X. But why is that? And how exactly did one humble little Japanese family sedan become such a legend? Well, let's have a look at one and find out. First things first, yes, this July 1998 built MY99 Subaru Impreza WRX is a little bit rough, but it's mine and I picked it up for around 1,500 Aussie dollars, which is roughly around $7 US, give or take. Finished in an albeit slightly patchy dark blue pearl. The car isn't the classic WR blue with gold rims combination, but it's still cool and I still love it. Checking out the front first, and look at that, it's curvy, it's cool, it's a WRX. You've got classic 90s headlights here, no fancy LED, no fancy daytime running lights. You've got your cool curved corner lenses here, home to the Parkers. If we have a look underneath that, you've got these very cool Subaru stamped iconic front fog lights here. You've got your orange indicators in the front bumper here, and yes, these little intakes here that you can see are actually orange standard, but I may have attacked them with a can of matte black. It's a small detail too, but I really like the little slit cutout here that's in this bottom lip section of this front spoiler here. And look at all the space for a front mounted intercooler if you were so inclined. There's plenty of space in that front central intake there. And I do really like this plain plastic honeycomb grille, and of course the classic black and silver Pallades badge. None of this cherry red hot pink STI nonsense. Looking up, and there it is, the classic bonnet scoop, helping that top mounted intercooler ingest as much air as possible. But I also like the front vents that you've got here to obviously ideally help get some heat out of the engine. Now, while this side, the left hand side, is missing its cover so you can see through to the engine bay, the right hand side, which is where the airbox lives underneath that, still has its original cover in place, and it mostly sits in there pretty well. If we have a look from the side, and check it out, he's not very big, is he? When you have a look from the side, you really get to understand and realize he's a pretty small little car, the old GC8 Subaru Impreza WRX, especially compared to most modern cars these days. He's not very big, sitting 20 millimeters lower than a standard Subaru Impreza LX of the time. The 99 WRX may not have an aggressive stance, but geez, it looks good. It looks right. Isn't that nice? Especially as well because this car is rolling on standard 16-inch 5-spoke alloy wheels. Now standard, they came with 205/50 tires, which is actually what's on there at the moment as well. But today, because of the person who owned the car before me, it's running a set of Kumo Extra HS51s, and they don't seem too bad, if a little bit squealy. If we have a look inside the wheels, also standard, we have 4-piston Subaru stamped Sumitomo brake calipers, and at the front they're clamping 2 94mm ventilated discs, and at the rear we have a single piston caliper clamping 2 66mm solid discs as standard. But if you have a look closely, you'll see that the previous owner of this car has replaced them with some cross-drilled and slotted items. A little bit cool. If we have a look at the back, and look at that bum. Just look at that bum. What a good bum. I love that bum, it's awesome. It's an awesome bum. Look how curvy it is. Look how 90s it is. Look how GC8 WRX it is. You've got these cool curvy rear tail lights that you can see here, with a lot of people hate this orange strip, but I like it anyway. You've got your orange indicator there, and obviously your reverse light there. You've got this curvy rear bumper as well, which is a little bit dirtier than it was last night when I cleaned the car. And you may have noticed down the sides, you've got the plastic side skirts there, and that continues into these plastic rear pods at the back here. Most importantly though, the wing. Look at the wing. It's wingy. Look how wingy it is. It's not quite as big as what was on some of the STI models, but for a standard 99 GC8 Rex, it's still pretty good. Sits up nice and high. We've of course got our Impreza WRX badging there, the Subaru lettering, which may or may not stay on this car. And you may have also noticed at the back, it should actually come with a twin exit muffler system with two little pipes, but instead, because this car's exhaust had basically disintegrated over the years, it's been swapped over for a 3-inch system with, I think, quite a handsome looking single tip on the end there. If we have a look inside and the interior of a 99 Subaru Impreza WRX is far from what you'd call opulent. It's basic, it's grey, it's plasticky, it's awesome. One of my favorite things inside the cabin, and these ones actually aren't in terrible condition, are these black and red sport bucket seats. They're actually still pretty comfy. They hold you in nicely. Obviously they're not heated. There's no electronic adjustment. It's all manually adjustable, but they're still pretty good. And the trim you can see along here sort of kind of matches the trim in the door, but you don't get any red bits on your door inserts. While we're down here, I'll also show you the very impressive plastic sill plates there, which are pretty cool, and obviously your 3 plain rubber pedals in there. If we jump in out of the wind, you've got your basic air vents here, one for the passenger, one for the driver. You've got your basic climate controls here, classic dials. There's something weird that I like that noise so much, but they're pretty cool as well. And even though it's been slightly updated to this newer head unit, you also have a very basic stereo system. Air conditioning is standard, along with central locking, power windows front and rear, power mirrors, white-faced gauges, adjustable seat belts, a passenger side vanity mirror, a cup holder, and 3 grab handles. Fancy. A driver and front passenger airbag are also standard, and although they're looking a little bit worse for wear, I do really like the standard red stitched Momo leather steering wheel and matching red stitched leather shift knob for the standard 5-speed manual transmission. And even though it doesn't get red stitching, the WRX does come with a proper manual handbrake, which means you can pretend to be Colin McRae or Possum Bourne whenever legally appropriate. Storage is a bit of a mixed bag with these mostly useless super narrow door pockets that are fairly annoying, but you do get this handy little cubby tucked in near the driver's right knee, good for change and coins and the like. You also get this cool top box, which normally has a cover on top of it, which is off at the retrimmers getting retrimmed. You also get a handy little shelf here as part of the double din unit. You get an ashtray, which can be handy for putting things other than ash into. You get a little storage shelf here for things to slip out of. And you also get a center console bin here that's also missing a lid because it's off at the retrimmers getting retrimmed. Not too bad, it's a little bit small, but there is a little extra cup holder in there as well that you can see. You have space for some extra coins if you trust that they're not going to fall out. And you've got a blank for where your center diff controller would be if you had one. The glove box is also not too bad in terms of size. Obviously, you may have noticed that it's also missing a glove box cover, and that is because it is also at the retrimmers off getting retrimmed. What is kind of cool though is if we have a look here, we do have an original Subaru owner's manual, the owner's wallet, as you can see. This one goes back, as you can see, 24th of the 8th, 1998. Got a lot of cool bits and pieces that the previous owners have hung on to, which is quite cool. It's cool seeing all the original stuff, including an original Subaru Impreza owner's manual. And yes, it smells like old book. If we have a look in the back, things are a little bit squeezy in the back of a 99 GC8 WRX, but you have more black and red seats, which do still look pretty decent. You've also got seat belts for 3 people, including one for the center person that even says center. so you know. Other than that, pretty cool as well. While there's, again, not a lot of storage in the back, no rear air vents, no door pockets or anything like that, you do get pretty cool 60/40 split fold rear seats. In the boot of the WRX, you will find, well, not a lot. There are these very annoying gooseneck hinges which tend to take up space depending on how full your boot is, and other than that, not a lot else. There's no 12-volt outlets, no luggage hooks or anything like that. But if we have a look under the floor, there still is a space saver spare tire. And there it is, an engine about as well known as Toyota's 2JZ or Nissan's RB26. Say hello to Subaru's EJ20 2-litre turbo 4-cylinder boxer engine. Back in the day, this thing churned out from standard a whole 160 kilowatts of power, or around 215 horsepower at 5,600 RPM and 290 Newton meters of torque from 4,000 RPM, which was enough to propel the little rocket ship from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.3 seconds. Today, not that impressive. Back in the 90s, that was pretty good. But how does it drive? Oh my God, it's so much fun. I know this thing only makes about the same power and torque as a Renault Clio 4 RS, but I can tell you right now, I know which one I'd rather be driving. The engine isn't the same as a modern car. You don't have that same instant power and instant torque. There is still a little bit of that classic old turbo lag, but that is still decently punchy. And how good is that noise? This particular car has just ticked over 244,000 kilometers. And the engine still feels good. You've got good pulling power. And especially around a track like this, as soon as you're up at 4,000 RPM, well, it just wants to keep going. You know it's not fast, but it's not slow either. One thing I really love about the GC8, and people are going to be like, what? Is the gearbox. The standard 5-speed manual. Now I know, depending on who you talk to, they're made of glass, they're going to break, all the rest. You know what? If you leave the car alone, instead of chucking on some bolt-ons and winding some boost into the thing, the standard gearbox actually isn't too bad, and it feels so good. It's so slick on the changes. Teamed together with that really awesome pedal placement, you could just work on your heel-toe shifts all day long. Bang. It's so intuitive, it just works. You see this smile? This is a genuine smile, and that's because the GC8 WRX is such an entertaining car, and a huge reason why it's so entertaining is the car's ride and handling balance. Shorter, narrower, and a full 245 kilograms lighter than a current WRX. The 99 GC8 is so agile and loves a change of direction. You can throw it around and it's just so nimble. These days with modern technology, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, it really doesn't matter that much. Back in the 90s though, all-wheel drive was a big deal, and for Subaru, that symmetrical all-wheel drive system was a huge draw card. And in the GC8, what you really notice is just how much grip it really does have. You can turn in, and as soon as you see that apex, get after it, and there is grip for days. Even though these tyres are starting to let me know that they're not having as much fun as I am, you can really trust the Rex. That balance lets you know just how hard you can lean on the tyres, and especially with those 50 profile tyres and they're pretty close to standard suspension, you've got roll and lean. The thing is just so communicative. The steering's a bit of a funny one with the old Rex. It's not the best ever steering system that the world has ever seen. It's quite a bit of an adjustment when you first get into it, actually, to just feel out exactly what it's trying to tell you, because particularly cruising around at normal speeds, not around a really cool hill climb track like what we're doing today, off center, the steering's quite remote and it is actually quite detached. It's very light and there's not a whole lot of feedback, but as soon as you get into some corners and you load the thing up, it just starts brimming with feel. You can feel what the tires are doing, you can feel how much grip you have, and it's actually a really nice steering system to have, but you've got to chase it a little bit to get the best out of it. Another thing that probably sits similarly with the steering are these brakes. Now these are pretty close to standard, as I said. Initial pedal feel can be quite spongy, but for example, hard braking zone, the car will stop and the pedal can get a bit firmer, but I wouldn't say that they're confidence inspiring, but they're there. Oh man, what a fun track and an awesome car. It just loves to be driven. What do I love most about the 1999 Subaru Impreza WRX though? Everything. Listen to that noise, the exhaust note, the burble, the balance, the fun, the chuckability. It's funny because absolutely, if you modify one of these, you can make it faster, you can make it more pinpoint, but it's the standard car that's so special. Why is it special? Think about the names: McRae, Bourne, Vartanen, even Saints. The 90s were an absolute golden time for Subaru, particularly in World Rally. The really interesting thing about this car though, and why I love it to bits, is Subaru was the underdog. If you think about things properly, Nissan had the GDR and their goal was to out-Porsche. Honda, they built the NSX, this supercar that was developed in partnership with one Ayrton Senna. Subaru didn't have any of that stuff. Subaru just built a family car that they knew dimensionally, that they knew power plant wise. They could tackle some of the world's most difficult rally stages on the World Rally circuit. And what they ended up with was 3 manufacturers' world titles and 1 driver's title. And they even had success after the GC8, thanks to Richard Burns and Peter Solberg. And it's all there: the scoop, the wing, the noise. All of these things combined make the WRX an absolute legend. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, who doesn't want to pretend to be a rally driver for a day? And with this car, that's exactly what you can do. We've got an empty track and there's still plenty of fuel in the tank. So I'm going to keep driving, but please, if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe. See ya.